Hey guys, Richard here, eBike Reviews and Adventures. So, I recently got the Troxus LYNX back from my daughter because she's been riding it now for a couple of months. And I wanted to do a video or two with it. I need to do some maintenance on it and just clean it up because, well, quite frankly, it's a mess. Let me show you a couple of things. Yeah, so Emma has had this for a while now, but I tell you what, it is just filthy. I mean, top to bottom, there's just grease splatter, bug spatter, and just, I mean, dust and dirt caked all over that. I mean, look how dry that sprocket is. Look how nasty. Look how nasty these things are. Yeah, filthy up here in the luggage rack. I don't know. So, you know, some people just might take a look at a bike like this that is just completely trashed and say, you know, that's just neglectful and it's just, you know, you should really take better care of your bikes. And, well, here's how I look at it. You know, I look at it this way. When I look at this bike and I see that it is in such filthy condition, what I really see is miles and miles and miles of good times. Yeah, that's right. Because I know Emma loves this bike, and I know that Emma rides this bike a lot. And around her house, she's got a lot of dirt paths and things like that. And so this thing gets used a lot, and it's just a signature that she is enjoying it and having good times. And you know what? As a father, you couldn't be more proud than knowing your kids are out there, you know, doing something fun and having good times. So I thought I was gonna go ahead and clean this thing up today. And yeah, so that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna clean it up. Let's get you on the tripod over there so I got both my hands available. Okay, so when I first started my YouTube channel, I made a video about, you know, cleaning up my bike a little bit, and I showed you some of the things that I did at that time. And I've learned a few things since then, and so it's appropriate that I share a few more tips with you. So first of all, there is a lot of opinions, you know, on social media out there, you know, maybe amongst your friends, about how you should clean your bike. And everyone's got a different approach, a different method, okay? And they're not all bad by any means. But here's the number one, this is the number one thing you need to keep in mind when you're ready to clean your e-bike. And that is, you need to follow your manufacturer's recommendation. And here's what I mean by that. Not all e-bikes are made the same. Not all e-bikes are made to the same standard of quality, right? So you don't want to take someone else's tried and true method of just hitting it with a water hose, because we are talking about in the e-bike here with electrical parts. So first of all, read the instructions, contact your manufacturer and ask them, hey, what is okay and what is not okay? Because some e-bikes are designed to different IPX ratings, right? And so some of them you can sprinkle with water. Some of them you can hit with you know, pretty heavy water stream from a water hose, and it's not going to affect them. Make sure you know what's okay for your e-bike. So here's what I like to do. I have a lot of different e-bikes, right? And so I'm not going to flip through the manual and try to keep up with what's okay and what's not okay for all e-bikes. So I just apply this general practice right here. So typically what I'll do is I'll just wipe an e-bike down, because oftentimes all it needs is just a good dusting, right? And to do a good dusting, all you need is a rag or something like this fluffy doohickey thing right here. Or sometimes I'll use the old household Swiffer duster. And you know, this works great, especially for getting around the wheels and in between the spokes. So depending on how filthy your bike is, that may be all that you need to do. Now, that's certainly what I'll do for like the top half of the bike, and as I work my way down, it tends to get dirtier, and then we do other methods. Some people talk about different types of cleaners out there, and if you go online and look, you'll see just, you know, 100 different types of cleaners for your bike, right? Basically what it all comes down to is just a little bit of soap and water goes a long way. You don't want to use any harsh chemicals like a 409 or something strong like that. You need just a mild cleaner. That's why Dawn dish detergent or something is really popular. You can use that if you need to do a little deeper cleaning than what you might do with a rag, okay? So with that, you know, you can use like a squirt bottle or something just to give a light spray on your bike, and then go back and wipe it off with a rag. And typically that's all you need to do. You know, you'll be fine with that. When it gets to your tires, you can get more aggressive with it. Typically then what I want to do is I'll use some type of a brush. This is a great brush you find in many bike cleaning kits because it allows it to wrap and get around the tire. Okay, I can show you. It allows you to get around the tire really well. It's kind of got that curvature to it, right? And what I'll do is I'll just dump this into a bucket. Of soapy water and scrub the sidewalls of the tire and the tread of the tire and get everything cleaned up. And then with that, I will hit it with a water hose just to kind of rinse it off, because I can trickle water right over the front of the tire, around the edge of the tire, and not worrying about it getting over there on the brake pads and the disc or around the hub motor, and get this cleaned off really well. Now, if you've seen the bike cleaning kits out there, some of them come with a lot of different tools and you end up not using them at all. Let me show you a couple of the tools that I use often, and that is this little fuzzy rag looking thing right here, because it's a mitt. Okay, you just kind of put it on and it acts as a mitt, and I can just easily wipe down the bike and go over it all over. Of course, I just showed you the tire brush here. They have this one right here, which is great for cleaning your chain. Okay, so you can if you put your bike on a stand or something, you can crank the crank and spin the chain through here, and it'll clean the top of the chain as well as the sides of the chain, and get any mud, dust, or gunk off of that. And then of course sometimes they come with various types of brushes of different sizes and shapes. I've used this one a couple times to get in around the spokes and around the rim, but typically, because I don't drive through a lot of wet stuff, something like the Swiffer duster here is all that's needed to dust that off. And I'm not sure if I mentioned it already or not, but sometimes these little fuzzy duster things come off the end, because as you're pulling it through your spokes, this will come flying off. So what I do is I just take a piece of duct tape and grab the end of it and make sure it's strapped down to the handle there, so this thing doesn't come off so easily. Hi guys, so with that, I'm going to jump in and do some cleaning, and yeah, you can follow along and just see some of the things that I do. Okay guys, when it gets to your shocks area, this is really important right here, because you'll get a lot of dust and gunk built up on your shocks, because your shocks are greasy, right? And they're moist all the time. And what happens, everything sticks to it. So this is something you need to do often, especially after you go down a dusty road or a dusty trail or something. You should do it right away. And that is just take a rag and go around and clean it off pretty good. But more importantly, down here, right down here close where the seal is, make sure you wipe that off good, okay? Because there's going to be a lot of dirt, there's going to be sand and gunk, and what you don't want is you don't want it built up around this seal right here, and then continue riding your bike, and when this compresses, okay, as the shock compresses a little bit, sand and dirt can work its way down past this seal. And one, it can damage the seal and cause it to start leaking, or two, you can get sand or dirt down inside your shock, and then it causes problems for you later on. So what I do is I just take a rag or something so I can slip it around, and then I just pull it through back and forth to get that backside. Try to get everything off the best I can, make it nice and clean. And then they do make a lubricant specifically for forks, so you can go back and add a little lubricant to this right here. But of course that's just adding more moisture, and that's just going to cause more problems, because it's going to continue to collect dust and dirt, and then you're just going to keep doing this process. But that's an important maintenance step right there. Now something like your derailleur down here where there's lots of little crevices and cracks and parts and pieces, this is where it's a good idea to have a brush, just so you can kind of get in there a little bit and brush out some of the dirt and the sand or whatever might be there. I'm not sure if you can see it, but I get all kinds of nastiness falling off onto the ground down here. Just going around that derailleur. Let's continue our wipe down. And a couple of these areas I need to get some cleaner, and I get my rag wet and go over a couple of these areas. But I want to do all the dry dusting first as I can and get as much off as I can before introducing water. It sure is nice. It sure is nice having one of these little wheelie chairs. My oldest daughter Amanda bought this for me several years ago for Christmas. And I tell you what, never realized how handy it is and how nice it is to have something. So you're not actually crawling around on the ground, your hands and knees or something. Best little tools I've got in my toolbox, right, as we metaphorically say. What tools do you have in your toolbox to help you through life? This is one of them. When it comes to your disc back here, try to stay away from your disc as much as possible. You don't want to touch it, especially if you have any kind of cleaner on your rag or something. Keep it away from that disc because you don't want to contaminate it. So what I'll do is I'll take a rag with some alcohol and I'll just run around that disc here in a little bit just to clean it off and make sure there's no dust and gunk on it. You got to be careful when you're using a rag like this too, because you don't want to put a lot of downward pressure, because then you might force some sand into that seal that's down there. But you really want to get behind here and be able to get off as much as you can. So, all right. So that part of the cleaning is already done. It didn't take long at all just to clean everything up. I am going to use some cleaner. I ordered some and it hasn't shown up yet, so I think it's lost because I ordered it several days ago. But it's basically just a pink bottle bike cleaner, nothing too fancy, nothing too expensive. But I'm going to use something like that, like on the saddle here, to clean it off, because just dusting it isn't going to do any good. It just needs to get cleaned off pretty good right there. This bike rack back here, this wooden part, it's got some stains or something on it. I'll just see if I can get some of that off, and I'll put some on my rag and scrub it. I'm not going to spray down on it because I don't want anything to get down here on my disc and risk contaminating my disc or my brakes or anything. So I'll keep cleaner away from that over there. So that's important. Another thing is, anywhere where you have wire connections, don't hit it with water. Not unless the manufacturer says it's okay. Most of these connections like up here around your wiring, they are waterproof. They have a water rating, pretty significant by the way they're designed. But still, why risk it? E-bikes are expensive. And as you can see, this right here almost looks new again. I see a smudge right there in the sunlight. Got it. And I didn't use any cleaner or anything. I just kind of wiped it down, wiped it off. And really, that's all that was needed. Some people say, they hit it with water, they'll take their batteries out. It really depends on your bike. This has a battery underneath, so you would think a little sprinkle of water on top or cleaner isn't going to hurt it. That might be true, but then if you look closely, you got this lip right here from the battery, and that's an area where water can seep down and get inside there. So I'm just not going to do it at all. I'm not going to use water anywhere on the bike, because I just kind of proved it's not necessary. It really isn't necessary. Unless you do a lot of mountain biking and then you have some really big caked on mud and stuff, that is, that's another video. Follow those mountain biking guys. I'm not a mountain biking guy, but follow whatever techniques they use in order to clean their mountain e-bikes. There you go. Maybe that light will work a little bit better now too. You see how easy it is using this Swiffer duster? It just goes right in there, in between the spokes. Nice and easy. And just go all the way around with this thing. I like this thing a lot. around to the beginning again. And you can still take a rag if you have a stubborn spot. You can still take a rag and get in there and clean it a little bit better. Look at that. Everything is looking nice. Here comes a trash truck or something. Nope, not today. Not today. That'll be the recycling guy. Making all kinds of noise coming up behind me. Okay, now that we have the rim properly cleaned like we should have done on the first one, we'll continue with this brush over here and clean this tire. Alright guys, now if we look at this bike, it is in much better shape than it was, okay? The tires are mostly clean. You still got a little bit of grunk discoloration there because we have a lot of shale, crushed shale and stuff, and it just kind of embeds in the tire, so it's kind of hard to get that off. But look, tire's looking good. Rim is looking much better than it was. The shock area and everything is nice and clean. The light is clean, everything's dusted off here. Not seeing any gunk anymore, no water spots or anything up here. Everything's just looking good. I just cleaned the chain a little bit, and so my process now is to go back with some dry lube and put a little more dry lube on that chain. And you know, we didn't dust the motor. I guess I should get in there and try to dust that motor a little bit better. I got it some, but still a little dusty. Still got little water spots drying down there from the water hose, but yeah, the rack is looking much better too. So overall this bike is looking much better than it was. It's not quite new condition, but you know what? It's close. It's a lot better than it was. So yeah, nice and clean. Emma will be happy with it when she gets it back. And I tell you what, I think I'm gonna go ahead and maybe clean a couple more while I've got my supplies out today. Alright guys, that's it for this video for how I clean my e-bikes. Now if you have some suggestions or tips for the community, drop them down below, let us know so we can all learn together. That's pretty much all I do. It only takes 20 or 30 minutes or so to clean it up good. But you know, yeah, so that's it, the Troxus LYNX. Now hey, if you're interested in the Troxus LYNX, I did some review videos on that. Great bike, great company. I encourage you to go check them out because that right there, my friend, is a fun ride, and Emma sure loves it. That's it for this video. If you if you liked it, give me a thumbs up. If you're new here, make sure you subscribe. If you have any questions, drop them down below. And until the next video, ride safe.